Greetings, traveler. You've found your way back to the Silver Quill Corner. I am Grayfen, the Story Keeper. Long ago, when I was bound to an ancient wizarding family, I learned that stories carry a magic older than time itself. Here, we drift through cozy fantasy stories for quiet nights and wandering minds, gothic myths, lost histories, and gentle retellings inspired by the magical world of Harry Potter. If the murmur of quills and the echo of old corridors bring you peace, you're welcome to linger here. Tell me, traveler, from what city, realm, or quiet corner of the world are you listening from tonight? I'd love to know how far these stories have reached. Let the day stay where it is. We're journeying to somewhere that feels familiar. In a moment, you'll find yourself somewhere warm, somewhere a little crooked, somewhere that's been standing for a long time. A gentle breeze moves through the field, brushing past you with the familiar scent of meadow grass and damp earth, touched with the faintest hint of peppermint, green. Familiar. It drifts on like a warm embrace. The path narrows as it curves through the hedgerow, grass brushing softly against your ankles, still cool with the memory of earlier rain, each step releasing the quiet scent of soil and leaves, clean, grounding, steady in the open air. Ahead of you, the burrow rises into view, crooked and familiar. It's been expecting you all along. It doesn't appear all at once. First, a window, glowing through the leaves, rooms stacked in a way that feels uneven. One room added on top of another, the burrow creaks softly, from the wind, settling, wood adjusts, beams remembering where they belong, the sound low and familiar. You're expected. The front door opens before you reach it, swinging inward with a well-known groan, and warmth spills out at once, thick, welcoming, carrying the scent of bread cooling from inside, old wood holding its heat, and something faintly sweet still simmering in the background. You step inside. The door closes behind you on its own, the sound gentle, final in the best way. Your shoes come off without being asked, nudged gently free by quiet magic, gliding beneath the crooked bench by the wall to settle among a soft clutter of boots and well-worn slippers. Nothing matches, and yet everything knows exactly where it belongs. The floorboards beneath your feet are smooth from years of passing steps, the grain softened by time, polished by movement, warmed by life. They creak quietly as you walk. They know you and are glad you've come home. Somewhere above you a clock ticks. It has many hands, each one moving to a rhythm, each of a Weasley member. One hand twitches, hesitates, then settles in place. The kitchen glows just ahead. It's filled with the kind of light that only comes from lamps left on for decades. Not bright, not dim, simply warm enough to soften every corner and forgive every crooked edge. Pots hang from the ceiling in the kitchen, gently swaying. A kettle hums to itself on the stove, a subtle boil, content to be useful later. At the far end of the counter, wooden spoons stir a pot on their own. A loaf of bread cools on the table, wrapped loosely in a clean cloth, the fabric carrying a faint scent of laundry soap and sun-dried air. Beside it, a plate stacks itself. That's better, isn't it? A chair eases back an inch, wood murmuring softly, asking you in its own way to sit, rest, let's eat, resting your hands on the table, feeling the warmth still held in the grain, the quiet knowing of life moving through this room only moments ago. Near one of the chairs, a sweater knits itself in midair, needles clicking patiently as the wool loops and gathers, sleeves growing a little too long, just as they always do. It hovers there with quiet focus, counting stitches, adjusting tension, entirely absorbed in the task. When your fingers brush the fabric as you pass, it's warm, holding the heat of hands that wore it often. Above, the knitting continues, steady, rhythmic, while a picture frame nearby tilts, corrects itself, and settles once the balance feels right. The kitchen carries on around you, pots still swaying from the ceiling, wooden spoons still stirring, the kettle hums, it holds its warmth, releasing the faintest curl of steam from the shelf. A mug lifts gently, drifting down, through the air, reconsidering its positioning to land in the palm of your hands. Tea pours itself in, dark, fragrant, carrying the scent of dried leaves, warm honey, steeped herbs, and a trace of something old and comforting, like heat held in stone. A spoon stirs once, twice, then rests against the side of the mug. The table beneath your hands is worn smooth, softened by years of use, marked where meals lingered, where elbows leaned in, where laughter stayed longer than planned. Your fingers follow the grain without thinking, tracing lines shaped by time and touch, each one holding the quiet assurance that this place remembers everyone who has ever belonged here. A plate barely finishes settling before something warm drifts down onto it. A small tea cake, still faintly steaming, edges just golden enough to promise softness inside. Crumbs scattering like they meant to be there. The smell deepens. Butter, dried fruit, a hint of spice, comfort baked into shape. A drawer opens near the sink, cutlery shifting inside. The drawer closes again with a gentle thud, pleased with the order it's found. A loaf of bread tears itself open on the counter, warm, yeasty, alive. A folded cloth lifts, flutters once, then drifts back down. The smell deepens. Bread, tea, cake, and something savory bubbling nearby, slow, steady, promising it will be ready when you are. The clock ticks again. You sip the tea. Outside the window above the sink, the light has changed, evening blue deepening, shadows stretching across the garden, herbs sway gently, something small drifts near the fence, a scatter of fireflies, their light blinking once, twice, before slipping back into the dark. Inside, the kitchen continues. This room doesn't rely on your presence, it breathes on its own. The magic hums and the Burrow keeps breathing. You drift away slowly, not leaving, just moving through. The next room opens up to you, a living space shaped by years of use, filled with Christmases of exchanged knitted scarves with your initials on it. Chairs gather near the fire in a loose, imperfect circle, none of them matching, all of them ready. The fire burns low in the hearth, a low rumble, its light moves across the walls, catching on crooked shelves, the spines of well-loved books, Babbity Rabbity and Her Cackling Stump, Ron's favourite, shadows stretching, then curling back toward the warmth. On the mantel, photographs murmur quietly among themselves, memories easing into the evening. One frame shifts, only slightly, finding its balance on the uneven oak, content once it's set just right. And there, on the wall nearby, the clock keeps its gentle watch, its many faces turned outward, each bearing the likeness of someone loved. The Weasleys look on with quiet affection, and the Burrow holds the moment gently, letting it stretch just a little longer. You rise without quite deciding to. The stairs wait nearby. They curve upward in their familiar way, never quite straight. The banister bears the quiet polish of countless hands, taken hold of without thought. When your fingers rest against it, the wood is warm, steady, known. Each step sighs as you climb, not resisting your brace, simply answering, the sound drifting upward, then thinning into the quiet above. Halfway up, the light begins to change. A window waits at the turn of the stairs. You pause there. Outside, the garden has nearly given itself to night, shapes blurring together, herbs, fence, earth, all held gently by the dark. A lantern near the back door burns low, its light spilling across damp grass, catching on leaves now perfectly still. Something small, magical scuttles near a flower pot, then quiet returns. A door stands open along the landing. Inside, a room rests in quiet order. The bed is neatly made, quilt folded smooth, colors softened by years of washing and sunlight. The fabric holds the faint scent of clean linen and something deeper beneath it. Soap, old wood, the warmth the day left behind. A bedside lamp glows low, not meant for reading, just enough to soften the dark. Magic settles deeper, folding itself into beams and plaster, until it's hard to tell where wood ends and enchantment begins. The burrow is nearly asleep. You lie down when it feels right, the quilt drawing in closer, settling with the easy weight of something well known. The pillow yields just enough, then steadies, holding you where you land. Your breathing slows, and the burrow follows. Walls release the day's warmth. Wood eases back into stillness. Magic sinks deeper, threading itself into beams and floors, content to sleep until it's called on again. The garden is fully still now, no rustle, no movement, only the earth at rest beneath the dark, holding tomorrow safely out of sight. Your breathing slows without effort. Far below, embers glow faintly in the hearth, their warmth traveling upward through wood and stone, through walls that know how to hold it. By the time it reaches this room, the heat is softened, steady, just enough to keep the air calm. The clock ticks. Outside, clouds pass across the moon. Light shifts at the window, then settles again. The glass reflects nothing sharp, only darkness, and the faint suggestion of the room behind you. The house eases into a slower rhythm, the kind meant for the middle of the night. Below, the embers fade another shade and then stop. Their glow stays, dim, constant, enough to keep the cold from creeping in, enough to remind the house that warmth still exists, even in rest. The clock does not hurry. Some hands have long since settled. Others rest between moments, content to remain exactly where they are. Outside, the night continues its slow passage. Clouds drift, stars appear, then slip away again. The garden stays still, earth holding the day's warmth beneath the surface, saving it quietly for morning. Inside, nothing asks for attention. The bed holds, the quilt stays, and the burrow keeps the night whole. The embers below keep their faint glow, steady, patient, warmth tucked quietly into the bones of the house. That familiar scent of damp grass and old wood resurfaces, and the faint trace of yesterday's fire, now only a memory held in stone. Somewhere below, very faint, a kettle hum begins. The sound reaches you the way comfort does. You step into the hallway. Light gathers at the top of the stairs, stretching upward from below, warm and patient, like a hand held out as you ascend the stairs. And as you descend, the smell reaches you in layers. Toast beginning, tea waking. Your favorite, a non-alcoholic butterbeer warmed with cinnamon spice. Downstairs, the kitchen opens around you, warm with light that isn't bright, only kind. You can feel it in the air, a beginning of something new, a new chapter, the kind that holds warmth with one hand and forward motion with the other. A chair shifts back an inch, an invitation, and you accept. You sit. Outside the window, the garden is awake, bright as ever, the most perfect summer morning dew clinging to leaves, a faint movement near the fence, a gnome cheekily blowing raspberries in your direction. Mischief is on the horizon today. Someone passes behind you, fabric brushing your sleeve. It's Molly, honey chestnut hair, apron already on, flour dust at the tips of her fingers. She baked the bread herself just for you. A quiet, warm, tight embrace morning hug that doesn't need words. Proud of you, gleaming, nervous, excited, anticipating your first day of school. A plate settles near your elbow. A spoon taps the table once and stops. Everything feels arranged, not neat, but just right. You sip the tea. Warmth spreads through your hands, then into your shoulders, then into the place inside your chest where anticipation lives. You don't rush. The house wouldn't allow it, but time, gently, begins to gather itself. And so, you begin to start packing. A bag opens on the table, leather flexing, buckles loosening, tatted at the seams, but no worry. We are heading to Diagon Alley soon. Books find their places, spines aligning, pages settling as if they know this routine. Books pass down from brother to sister to you. Ink bottles stop rolling and decide to behave. Parchment stacks itself in a way that won't crease. A quill pauses, considers, then tucks itself where it won't snap. Clothes fold, mimicking Molly's gestures. A jumper hesitates as if it would rather stay here, then gives in and slides into the bag. Everything you need arrives in one place. The door opens with its familiar groan. Sunlight waits on the other side, stronger now, gold touching the threshold and holding there. You pause, just once, not to look back, to feel, a big, deep breath now, because when you return, you'll have more story to share. Cool air meets your face. The field stretches wide. Grass brushes your ankles once more. Behind you, the burrow leans, crooked, content, already carrying on, already alive, absolutely sure of itself in its place. The world widens, and the road, patiently, takes you. You feel the day's direction in your bones now, the subtle shift from rest to journey. It's the smallest kind of bravery, to leave comfort, even when you know you can return. The air warms as you go. And then, the world begins to change, because it always does when you move toward wizarding places. A sense of layering. You reach the point where the route turns, where the day stops being just morning and becomes departure. And from here, it's not just a walk, it's a thread being pulled from home toward Hogwarts. Brick remembers how to shift. Stone exhales, and Diagon Alley unfolds, like a secret being told to someone who already knows it. Sound rushes in, not chaos, life. Shop bells ringing with opinions. Footsteps layered on stone, coins chiming, voices calling names, prices, greetings, warnings, all blending into that unmistakable hum that only exists here. The air smells like 100 things at once: parchment, polished wood, old spellwork, sweet smoke drifting from somewhere that sells enchanted sweets, and the faint metallic tang of cauldrons cooling after being tested. Windows glow as you pass, robes floating on invisible mannequins, quills writing advertisements in the air, a stack of books in a shopfront rearranging itself as if to show off. An owl hoots from inside a dim, quiet place, gold eyes blinking slowly, as if judging everyone equally. A cauldron shop breathes heat, metal shining, lids rattling faintly like impatient teeth. You catch a glimpse of parchment in a window, lists of supplies, inked in careful handwriting, the familiar promise: you will need things, and you will learn why. A bakery door sighs open as someone exits, warmth spilling out, sugar and yeast and cinnamon, the smell clinging to you for a few steps before letting go. You let your eyes skim, because you've done Diagon Alley properly before, because today is not about wonder for its own sake. The street is too alive. A group of students pass with new robes folded over their arms, laughing too loudly, pretending they aren't nervous. A witch leans close to another and whispers something that makes them both smile, as if the whole street is stitched with secrets. Good secret, or maybe bad. If you take just one wrong turning, maybe you'll find out. Somewhere, a distant crackle, a small spell misbehaving, followed by a sharp professional sigh. You keep walking, You let Diagon Alley be what it is, a living corridor between worlds, a place that sells essentials and illusions with equal confidence. A wand shop hums behind glass, wood and magic whispering among themselves, as if every wand inside is listening, curious who will one day hold it. A bookshop window catches your reflection, and for a moment you see yourself the way Hogwarts will see you soon, not as a visitor, as a student. The street curves, noise thins, the air changes again, cooler, cleaner, as if the city itself is letting you go. And then you're moving out of it, not leaving it behind forever, just passing through. 5 minutes, that's all you need, enough to feel the pulse of the wizarding world, enough to remember that it's real and waiting. King's Cross is always strange after Diagon Alley. Normal, rushed, busy, people hurrying to places they never want to be, but you're on your way to somewhere magical. And for now, just briefly, the air here smells like metal dust and black coffee, like ordinary mornings continuing whether you exist or not. Shoulders brushing past each other with frowning faces. Announcements echo overhead, names of trains that aren't yours. Platform numbers that mean nothing to you. It's a kind of camouflage. It's perfect, isn't it? The wizarding world hiding inside the busy. Deep red trunk rolling, thudding along the dreary floor, bag on your shoulder. Heart a little louder than you'd like. For a moment, you're aware of how invisible the magic is, how many people are passing within inches of a doorway they'll never notice, that were never meant for them, families with too large trunks, owls in cages covered with cloth, children pretending to be casual while gripping their tickets too tightly. A mother straightens a collar. A father adjusts the handle of a trolley as if it's a sacred object. Someone laughs, too bright, to cover nerves. You follow the thread. You don't have to ask directions. The day itself guides you. Platform 9, Platform 10, and in between, the barrier, ordinary as stone, the place where the world becomes a suggestion. You slow, not to hesitate, to time it properly. You don't want to bounce off it like a tourist. You wait for a gap, a moment where no one is watching too closely, where the flow of people won't notice one more figure moving toward the wall. Like stepping through cool, warm water, like air turning to silk, like the world blinking, and suddenly, Platform 9 3/4 opens around you. The sound hits first, steam, metal, voices bright with relief. The Hogwarts Express breathes there in scarlet gleam, paint shining under the station lights, windows fogged and glowing. The platform feels crowded in a different way, less hurried, more alive. This isn't commuting, this is departure. An owl hoots from somewhere above, sharp and impatient. Someone calls a name and laughs when the person turns too quickly. Trunks are stacked, cats meow in baskets. A rat squeaks once and is immediately shushed. Someone drops a chocolate frog and gasps as if it might escape forever. Parents hold on a heartbeat too long. Students pretend they don't notice. You can breathe now. You're here. And now it begins. The platform is a collage of tiny moments. A girl hugging her grandmother, promising to write, promising it like it's a spell, a vow. A boy trying to act brave, wiping his hands on his robes, checking his trunk latch 3 times. A group of older students leaning together, talking too fast, laughing too hard, already halfway inside the year. An adult witch flicks her wand and a suitcase strap tightens on its own. Efficient, practiced, as if she's done this 1,000 times. The train releases another breath of steam, white, curling upward, softening the harsh station lights. The red of the engine feels almost unreal against the grey of King's Cross, like someone painted a piece of a dream into the real world. You walk along the platform. The wheels of your trunk rattle faintly over the stone. Every few steps you pass a new scene, a farewell, a warning, a last-minute instruction. Don't forget your jumper, dear. Write the moment you arrive. Eat something on the train, will you? Keep your wand where you can reach it. The words blur together. You reach a carriage door, metal steps, a narrow entrance, warmth and corridor light beyond. You lift your trunk with a small strain. It catches for a second, then slides in. You step up. The doorframe feels like a border. Behind you, the platform. Ahead, the corridor. You turn just slightly. One last look at the platform's bright movement, the faces that will remain here. Then you let the moment go. You step fully inside. The corridor sways almost imperceptibly, as if the train is already dreaming of motion. A voice calls, "All aboard!" The sound carries like a bell. You find a compartment door, slide it open, and the space inside waits. Worn seats, a window smeared with fingerprints from years of excitement. The wrapping paper package of Bertie Bott's every flavored beans stuffed in between the seats. A luggage rack overhead ready to hold your year. You settle in. The door slides shut, and just like that, the world becomes framed by glass. The whistle sounds, low, long, certain. The train answers with a shudder that travels up through the floor. Then it moves, slowly at first, as if it's giving the platform one last chance to change its mind. It doesn't, and the Hogwarts Express pulls free. The station begins to slide away. Stone pillars, signs, crowds, all drifting backward, leaving one life on the platform and carrying another inside your chest. The train gathers speed. The corridor sway becomes real. The rhythm of the tracks begins and adjusts, that steady, grounding pulse, forward, 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 like the world has finally agreed to move. Outside the window, London blurs into lines and shapes. Buildings soften into distance. London graffiti flashes bright and disappears. The ordinary world becomes scenery, and then becomes memory. Inside, the train is its own little universe. Doors slide open and shut along the corridor. Voices spilling out in bursts, laughter, arguments, names being called. Someone already telling a story too long and too loud. A trolley rattles past somewhere down the train, wheels clicking, and you can almost taste the sweets already. Chocolate, sugar, peppermint, the strange comfort of familiar magic in edible form. You lean back. What a peaceful moment. You take it all in as the countryside begins to roll by. Suburbs thin, fields begin. Hedgerows appear like stitched borders. A horse in a field lifts its head as the train passes. The sky opens wider and wider. Clouds drift like slow parchment. Time begins to behave differently. On the train, minutes don't feel like minutes. They feel like segments of anticipation. You listen. Someone laughs and says, "I'm definitely going to be in," then stops. As if saying a house name out loud might tempt fate. A door slides open down the corridor, and someone passes, robes already on, swishing by, a quick glance toward your compartment, a warm, inviting smile, then on they go. There's a feeling in the air, not danger, possibility. You gather your thoughts. What might these years ahead become? And in that watching, you notice the little details that make the Hogwarts Express what it is. The way the window glass sometimes fogs near the edges, as if the train is warm-blooded. The way the floor vibrates subtly, like a living creature purring. A laugh rises from further down the carriage, bright, unguarded, then fades. A book closes somewhere with a soft thump. Pages sighing from being read one too many times. A tap at a compartment door, then a quick, awkward apology when it's the wrong one. This is how the year begins, not with a speech, with small human moments held inside an enchanted machine moving through the countryside. Eventually, the trolley arrives. It appears with the kind of inevitability that feels like tradition. The witch behind it looks like she's been doing this forever, as if she's part of the train itself. You hear the question before she reaches you. "Anything from the trolley, dear?" The sweets stare up at you like tiny wrapped promises. Chocolate frogs in their jumping boxes. Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, colorful and suspicious. Pumpkin pasties warm and comforting. Cauldron cakes dense and sweet. Licorice wands. Peppermint humbugs. You choose what you choose, not just for taste, for ritual. You unwrap something, and the smell alone makes the compartment feel more real. Chocolate, warm from your hands. Sugar, sharp and bright. Outside, the fields continue, the train continues, and with every mile, Hogwarts becomes less like a concept and more like a place that is actually waiting for you. Then, the first shift. The light outside begins to tilt. Not night yet, but the color of afternoon turning. The year is moving toward its first threshold, and you can feel it. Somewhere deep in your chest, anticipation rises. Not loud, steady. You glance at your bag, at your books, as if checking they're still real. They are. You're on your way. And the Hogwarts Express does what it has always done best. It carries you forward and makes the future feel full of possibilities. Time slides in a softer way now. The first buzz has settled. Conversations become less frantic, more natural. Someone is telling a story that isn't just about what they bought, but about who they are. Someone else is leaning with their forehead against the window, watching clouds drag their shadows across fields. The carriage feels warmer now, not temperature, feeling, like the train has accepted you. Outside, the countryside grows wilder, fields widen, forests gather in dark patches. Rivers flash like silver ribbons and vanish behind trees. Every so often, you pass a small station, a blink of platforms and signs, and the train doesn't stop. It never stops. That's part of the magic. You're in between worlds now, and the in-between belongs to the train. A door slides open in the corridor and someone laughs as they stumble slightly, the sway catching them. Then they steady themselves with a hand on the wall and keep going. A prefect passes at some point, badge catching the light, glancing into compartments with the careful, practiced look of someone pretending not to check if everyone is all right. Somewhere, a cat yowls, offended by motion. Somewhere else, a toad croaks once. You shift in your seat. The fabric sighs. Your reflection moves faintly in the window glass. Your face layered over fields and trees, like you're already part of two places at once. The train rocks through a curve, and the world outside tilts, then levels again. There's something soothing about that. The certainty that motion will keep happening even if you stop thinking about it. At some point, talk turns to Hogwarts itself. Not the myth of it, the practical pieces. How many staircases there are, as if anyone has ever counted properly. Whether the ceiling in the Great Hall really shows the night sky, and whether it can show storms. Which professor is strict, which one is kind, which one is strange in the way wizards can be strange without noticing. You look down at your hands. You have your new wand you purchased from Ollivander's. You imagine the first time you'll raise it in a classroom, not alone, surrounded by other students doing the same wand work, all of you learning how to direct something invisible and yet real. The thought makes your stomach flutter. Excitement. The train continues north, and as it does, the light begins to drain, gradually, like a candle lowering. Outside, the sky deepens, blue thickening, shadows lengthening across fields. Inside, lamps begin to glow in the corridor, small pools of warm light that make the train feel even more like its own world. You can feel the end of the journey approaching, not because you've seen Hogwarts, because the train itself changes. The sway becomes more powerful, like you've just entered a new force field. The sound of the tracks feels slightly different, as if the rails ahead are older, more certain. Then another sound, a murmur down the corridor, a sliding door, a voice calling out, shrieks of excitement. Cheers. Students, please leave your luggage on the train. It will be taken to the castle. That sentence lands like a spell, because it means you're close, very close. You stand, you pull your bag strap onto your shoulder. You check your pockets as if you might have misplaced courage. You haven't. You have everything you need. You're ready. The corridor is alive now. Doors bursting opening, students stepping out, robes straightening, voices lifting. The train begins to slow. The world outside darkens further. And then, with the gentlest shudder, it stops. The journey on rails is done. But the journey to Hogwarts itself, that is about to begin. The doors open, cool air rushes in. Not London air, not city air, Highland air, sharp and clean, carrying damp earth and pine and the faint mineral scent of stone. You step down onto the platform. The ground feels different here, older. It remembers everything, every student, every teacher, every purpose. Lanterns glow, warm against the night. Voices echo in the open, brighter now, edged with nerves. Somewhere, an owl calls out into the dark, a lonely, perfect sound. You gather with the others. The train hisses behind you, steam curling upward, as if it's sighing after doing its work. It got you here safely. You look down the line of carriages, scarlet fading into darkness, windows glowing like small squares of warmth. It's strange seeing the train still. A voice calls, organizing, guiding. People begin to move, not toward the castle yet, not immediately. First, the lake. You follow lantern light, the path slopes, the night wraps around you, a chill, a colder embrace, and then the water appears, black lake, smooth as glass, dark enough to swallow starlight and hold it. Boats wait along the shore, small and simple, wooden shapes that look ordinary, until you remember they're about to carry you toward a castle. Lanterns sway, gold against black. You step into a boat. It rocks gently beneath your weight. Water answers with a quiet ripple. It's so still. Magic works in ways you forget and overlook. The boat begins to drift, gliding without oars. The lake itself is carrying you forward. The shore drifts away, lanterns on land become smaller, voices soften, excitement fading off faces as you get nearer. The world narrows into water and night, and the soft, steady glide forward. You sit still, you listen. The lake makes its own sounds, tiny laps against wood, soft creaks as the boat adjusts, the whisper of wind traveling across the surface. The night smells cold and alive. And ahead, Hogwarts begins to rise. It emerges. Towers first, dark against sky, then windows igniting, warm squares of light scattered across stone. The castle looks impossible and solid at the same time, like a dream made of rock. As you draw closer, the scale becomes real. Walls climb, bridges stretch, the silhouette sharpens, and somewhere inside you something settles into place. The understanding that you're not just approaching any ordinary castle, you're approaching a whole new world. The boats nudge against the shore. Wood scrapes softly. Hands reach out for balance. You step onto pebbled flooring. The ground is firm, damp beneath your shoes, cold stone waiting nearby. Lanterns guide you toward the path. The castle looms higher now, glowing brightly from every window, and the air feels charged with intense magic. You can't describe it, but you can feel it, gasps still lingering in the air. Everyone has lost words, just big, wide eyes. You begin to climb. Stone steps, worn smooth at the center by generations of feet. You wonder what have they become? Auroras? Professors? You're unsure if there's any other profession in this world. Each step feels like an echo. Not loud, just present. The path curves. Trees gather at the edges, dark and watchful. In the distance you can faintly make out the forbidden forest. A breeze moves through leaves, and the sound is like a whisper that refuses to form words. You pass the threshold and torches burn brighter. The castle isn't silent, it's listening. You can feel it, the way the stones feel aware beneath your feet. You reach a landing. The doors are farther than they looked. Hogwarts plays with distance like it plays with staircases. You keep climbing? Do these stairs ever end? Your breath steadies. Your bag strap presses against your shoulder. A small, grounding discomfort that reminds you this is real. Ahead, the entrance arch rises, stone carved with history you haven't learned yet, but you will. In time, you pass beneath the arch, and suddenly the sound changes. Outside, sound falls away, wind, trees, lake, and inside, sound begins. Footsteps on stone, a distant murmur from deeper corridors. A faint clink, like armor settling or a portrait frame adjusting itself. Eyes follow as you walk along. The castle smells like old stone and smoke and polished wood, and something else beneath it, something that feels like parchment and candle wax and years. You move forward. The corridor widens, and then you see them. The doors to the great hall. Tall, heavy, ancient. They stand closed, holding centuries behind them. The wood is dark, ironwork cold, handles waiting like a promise. You stop. On the other side, a ceiling that shows the sky, hundreds of candles floating, tables crowded with students, teachers watching, history breathing. But we don't go in yet. We stay here, right at the edge, because this is where the year becomes real. This is where you stop being someone who's traveling and become someone who belongs. You breathe, and in that breath the future arranges itself. Lessons await. What will you embrace? What will deepen your purpose? What will your future hold? Who will your closest allies be? And who will become your enemies? Charms, where motion learns intention, where spellwork becomes a language you can speak. Transfiguration, where change is treated with respect, where you learn that transforming something takes more than confidence. Potions, slow and precise, where patience and craftsmanship matters more than pride, where ingredients remember how they're handled. Herbology, hands in soil, life answering, a screaming plant yanked by its head, leaves and roots and the quiet intelligence of growing things. Defense against the dark arts, where fear is named and faced, where protection becomes practice, where courage becomes something you can train. Astronomy, learning where you stand in the dark, mapping the sky until it feels like it knows you back. History of magic, listening to what time refuses to forget, names and dates and the long chain of cause and consequence that built this world. Care of magical creatures, meeting the wild and the strange, mythical, enchanted, learning respect for lives that don't exist to be tamed and have no voice, and beyond them, corridors that shift, staircases that change their minds. You've never questioned if someone has fallen off those stairs. It's time to learn more about the history of this magical castle. Portraits that speak when they feel like it, or whisper once you've already walked past. A library that smells like dust and secrets. A restricted section. Will it tempt you? We'll see. Common rooms that will become home in a new way. The doors remain closed. For now. You can hear it faintly, the murmur beyond, the sound of gathering. You rest your hand near the wood, not touching yet, feeling the presence of it, the certainty. The journey continues. And when those doors open, you won't just be visiting Hogwarts. We begin the next chapter. Traveler, do come back, as your journey here is not yet finished. You have so much more to come.